Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Gluestick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore full-time and have a collection of hundreds of monster ecology and fantasy world history videos on my channel. If you like what I do, please consider becoming a member of the channel by clicking the join button or backing me on Patreon, where you can get access to the full scripts I write for these videos, and of course, subscribing to me here as I upload at least twice a week. Also, catch the hour-long live stream, hang out, eat some cheese and talk about all things that involve funny shaped dice on the weekend. Updating the Giants series, it has been 5 years since I made the first videos on Giants, and I've been very busy, deeply immersed in the Forgotten Realms lore, so it's well and truly time for an upgrade. Storm Giants may effectively be the highest in the rank of giants found on the world of Toril in a complex caste system they call the Ordning, but they are not the highest ranking of all the giants. The first terrestrial-born son of All-Father God of all giants, Anam, was Lanaxus, the progenitor of all the Titans, and it is the Titans who have always held the highest rank in the Ordning. If and when a Titan steps foot on the planet, all other giants bow to their authority. That is the way of the giants. The mythology of giantkind tells a sordid and dramatic tale of the relationship between Anam, father of all giants, and Ostoria, the demigoddess who was mother to both the true giants, sired by Anam, and the giantkind, who she had by way of adultery with other gods and powers of the world of Toril. While Anam was off fighting dragons and having adventures with his divine sons and daughters from previous relationships with other goddesses not connected with Toril at all. Othoria's relationship with a demigod named Ulutiu was much deeper though, and they genuinely loved each other, a fact that Anam did not take lightly. Even though by all rights he was just as bad if not worse, he was blind to any of his own faults, as was his nature. Hatching a plan together, Ostoria and Ulutiu arranged it so that Anam confronted Ulutiu, who then offered to withdraw to the bottom of the Northern Ocean forever if Anam swore never to harm Ostoria over her betrayal. Anam agreed. Some faiths believe Anam then pressed the issue of fathering another child with Ostoria to rekindle their relationship. Others claim some prophecy said Anam's last son would save Ostoria. It became clear from what this disaster would be when, due to a magical amulet imbued with the elemental power of Arctic cold worn around Ulutiu's neck, the Northern Ocean began to freeze when he sank to the bottom of it, encasing him safely in miles of ice, and in just 75 years, the Great Northern Glacier, the Sea of Ice, ground over the northern lands and effectively destroyed the giant nation of Ostoria, founded by the Titans and populated largely by cloud giants. Anam badgered Ostoria over having another child, but she refused, so he transformed himself into a mist and impregnated her anyway, something she became immediately aware of and was none too happy about. Convinced that his unborn son was the only hope of Ostoria, Anam made a pact with Ostoria that he would depart from the world completely, until such time as Ostoria was restored by his children and they cried out for him to return. With Anam gone, Lanaxus ruled Ostoria and the Jotunbrud from the citadel of Jotunheim. But when Ulutiu's magical amulets began to freeze northern Faerun, Lanaxus' citadel was put under threat, and he called for his children to join him in a quest to retrieve the amulet and stop the freeze. Ostoria forbade him to go after it, or he would suffer a terrible fate. He could not see his kingdom grounded to dust under endless ice and all the giants had built be erased forever, so he summoned his siblings, Vilmos, father of the storm giants, Nikias, father of the cloud giants, Masud, father of the fire giants, Otar, father of the frost giants, Obadiah, father of the stone giants, Rook, father of all hill giants, Julian and Arno, father of the Ettins, and Dunmore, father of the wood giants, and gathered together in a secret meeting from their mother. Lanaxus laid out his plan to defy her and go after the amulet anyway, but Dunmore refused to help. Lanaxus was shocked when Dunmore refused to go along with the plan and violate their mother's wishes, because his plan required the combined unity of all of the demigod powers to work, and without Dunmore there was no way it could. Lanaxus was forced to modify his plan, and instead he plotted the murder of Ostoria by poisoning the waters of the Well of Health within Vonenheim's sacred pool. However, this backfired terribly, and he ended up not only poisoning Ostoria, but all of his brothers except Arno and Julian and Dunmore. Before Ostoria succumbed to the poison, with her dying breath she cursed Lanaxus to lose his immortality if he ever left her shadow. The sons of Lanaxus, the Titans, fled to the plain of Arborea, fearing the effect of the curse on them and seeing no hope of saving their kingdom on Toril. while Lenaxus faded away from history for quite some time. How much is truth and how much is folktales passed down for thousands of years? Well, Lenaxus did show up again in the not-so-distant history, but still, there has not been much activity as of the 14th century of the Dale Reckoning calendar. Lenaxus's last sighting was when he appeared as a purple misty apparition who visited the giants after the War of the Heart and the death of Anam's last son with Ostoria named Heartkiller, warning them that they were rejecting Anam Allfather's will by refusing to comply with Heartkiller, that the humans in Heartsvale survived as a punishment to the giants, and that Anam was destined to return when a new king emerged from Heartsvale to restore the kingdom of Ostoria. Something that, understandably, the vast majority of true giants absolutely rejected, even more so because the hatred they had for Lenaxus, who murdered his brothers, his mother, their progenitors, and cost the giants their immortality and many believe their destiny. The mythology and the history of the giants is tricky to study, thanks to those that keep the records, but more on that towards the end of the video. The children of Lenaxus, the firstborn of Anam and Ostoria, carry a good deal more divine blood in them than, say, even the most powerful and gifted of the hill giants. The ranks of the Ordning are not just related to size, though within the Ordning of each family, tribe and breed this is certainly very important. The ranks are also related to the amount of divine magical power each giant breed has. Titans are the largest of the true giants. Even the storm giants, towering over other mortals at 26 feet, are on average 4 feet shorter than the average titan. But more significantly, titans outmass storm giants by at least 1,000 pounds on average. Storm giants have impressive physiques, but compared to titans, they look like marathon runners standing next to 100-meter sprinters. Titans look like they work out on a regular basis. They lift. As a result, titans have demanding metabolisms, requiring roughly 63,000 calories every day at a bare minimum, which equates to 18 pounds of pure fat. In practice, they eat far more than this. A typical meal would consist of an entire goat, several whole pumpkins, a couple of buckets of leeks, 3 sacks of potatoes, several gallons of mead, a large wheel of cheese, and a fairly massive stack of bread, with quite a few snacks during the day and a lot of water, wine and ale as they go through a lot of liquids. Titans, like storm giants, generate a lot of body heat and therefore rarely wear clothing for the purpose of staying warm. Quite the opposite. They are so strong they can automatically uproot a small tree with minimal effort and uproot a large tree with a moderate to hard athletics check. Or a strength check. They can wrench apart or burst magical bonds, lift and even tear off a castle portcullis, and easily pull a fully laden wagon with a team of horses backwards no matter how hard they try to go forwards. They can pick up a draft horse and toss it, and even grab a fully grown dragon and pull it down to the ground out of the air. The boulders a Titan throws in combat average around 11 feet in diameter, weighing 850 pounds, doing around 40-12 plus 10 damage. As for the easiest way to work out the stat block for the Titan, you don't need to. They're already in the core monster manual for 5th edition under the title Empyrean. The listing doubles as either Titan or demigod because the Titans are demigods. They are all descended from Anam and Ostoria and left the world of Toril before they lost their immortality, which means they can only die from injury, not old age. However, while the monster manual says Empyreans are always resurrected back in the upper planes when their spirit returns there, that is not always the case for the Titans. Though they do have many friendships with celestial beings who are quite capable of doing this, it's not automatically a done deal. I have an entire video on the Empyrean where I go over the stats and capabilities, so rather than go over that again, I'll concentrate on their homeland, culture and legacy of their former presence on the world of Toril, plus ways to make them much more than their basic stat block conveys. There are currently 2 main population centres of Titans in the multiverse. One is on the plane of Arborea, the other is within the plane of Limbo in a spectacular location called Warrior's Rest, or otherwise known as Night's Rest. There is absolutely nothing restful about Warrior's Rest. The natives of the place have no particular loyalty to any one deity, thus when they die in combat there, they rise again within Warrior's Rest, much like the honoured dead warriors of Asgard or the endless goblinoid armies of Acheron. The terrain of Warrior's Rest is similar to a rocky badlands you would find on Earth, however the terrain can be manipulated by the will of the Titans and other powerful beings who dwell there, resulting in a constantly shifting land, providing cover and tactical advantage to the cunning fighters in an ongoing battle that fills the hearts of those who live there with a savage and lustful joy. I mean, basically imagine this as an endless game of paintball or LARP, On the borders of this dangerous land stand many Githzerai fortress monasteries, watching over the chaotic battles, actually learning much of the ways of warfare over the many centuries they contemplate this aspect of the chaos of Limbo. Many gods of battle spend time there, such as Garrigus and the Red Knight of ancient Toril and the Empire of Netheril, Bashaba and Valkur, and the barbarian gods Tempest and Uthgar. The other main population zone is Arborea, otherwise known as the Olympian Glades of Arborea, a plane of chaotic goodness, home to both the Elven and Greek pantheons as well as the realms of Illyria, Suni and Timora. All the Titans, except a few, live in the first layer of Arborea called Arvandor. In particular, the realms claimed by the giant deities Elanis, giant goddess of love and beauty. She has a realm of Floralium among the countless miles of unspoiled wilderness that lies between the realm of the Greek gods and that of the Elven pantheon, the Seldarian. The deep wilderness is broken by mountains and lakes, rivers, and the occasional fair dale and glade. Arvandor is home to giant beasts, legendary monsters such as giant bears, eagles, wolves, serpents, boars, lions, and wild cattle, gorgons, cyclops, medusa, chimera, harpies, sphinxes, pegasi, and many breeds of giants, not just the Titans. There are many fantastic, mythical, and magical domains that share the qualities of the powerful immortal beings who call the plane their home, based on the legends and lore of the people in the mortal world who breathe life into the imagination that is manifested in these realms. Arvandor is very much full of epic adventure, dungeons, monsters, fearsome beasts, tricksters, lovers, and ancient places of rest and beauty where adventurous immortals can swap tales of their amazing exploits. Titans don't build sprawling cities. They don't build shops and markets for the most part. They craft things in their own homesteads and trade them with others as needed. They're not concerned with hoarding wealth, but they certainly like the idea of seeking treasures, and their homes are vast halls with cut stone pillars, much like the classic Greek architecture of the Olympus. But a structure one would assume is the centre of a community is instead just the home of a few Titans, filled with trophies and treasures from thousands of years of their activities, surrounded by pastoral lands full of bountiful crops and well-producing livestock. The cultural unit of the Titans is much the same as all giants. Most Titan tribes are loosely organised into Huslidir, or families, that take up the responsibility of child rearing. In the case of the mighty Titans, a mother gestates her child over 15 months, and the baby is over 5 feet tall at birth and grows to full maturity over the next 50 years. Typically, a full third of any giant tribe comprises young giants who have yet to reach maturity. Beware though, even at a young age, Titan children can unleash powerful magic, and they possess incredible strength and stamina. Like all true giants, Titans hold their ancestors in extremely high esteem, and due to the fact that most of them are still alive when they're born thanks to their immortality, they have very complex and often confusing relationships and family trees. So for them, their language and culture is full of terms for relationships and statuses that have no correlation in the language of mortal creatures. They also develop very different, very mature relationships with their parents and siblings, so after many centuries, you might not even be able to tell that one Titan is actually another Titan's father, just based on how they behave towards each other. Titans speak Jotun Elder, also known as Old Jotun, a formalized and archaic version of the modern Jotun language that the giants of Toril have spoken commonly for the last 5,000 years. So most modern giants comprehend what the Titans say, but would struggle to reply to them fluently in their own dialect. Likewise, the Titans understand modern Jotun easily enough, but they don't care to speak it, as it sounds very rough and less elegant, expressive, and poetic than their own language, so they sound Shakespearean compared to the average giant, or like they're speaking ancient Latin. Most ancient texts, and I mean really ancient, are written in Jotun Elder, or the glyphic text of the stone giants. The ancient records of the giants, unless carved in stone or etched in gold and well protected from the elements, have not survived the 30,000 years of their history. 30,000 years. So most modern records are those produced by the stone giants. However, due to the artistic nature of the stone giants and their peculiar psychology of them seeing the subterranean world as reality and the surface world like some sort of dream, their records can be much more like fairy tales and nursery rhymes, fables and myths rather than accurate historical facts. Without a comprehensive knowledge of giant genealogy, for instance, one would never be able to figure out roughly what century something occurred in. The best metaphor for the attitude of stone giants is like this. The underground is the real world and the surface world is the matrix. They can operate there, they can be a certain person there, even be tricked into thinking it's real, and certainly die there, but to them it's not actually real. Titans also have a different perspective on reality, thanks to the fact that they all live on other planes of existence beyond the prime material plane. The upper planes are fundamentally built on myth, legend, and faith. They are manifestations of the imagination of mortal and immortal beings, made real within the endless psychic potential of the astral plane. Where they live, the will to change something really does have a measured effect on their environment. Their thoughts and emotions can influence the physical world around them. They do it all the time. It's normal for them. When a Titan comes to the prime material plane, to the world of Toril, it feels that loss of control and influence keenly, like something taken for granted is suddenly gone. Imagine you lose the ability to use any remote control on Earth. They just stop working completely. Not a disaster, but certainly very inconvenient. Livestock stop producing twin offspring every season just because you expect them to. The pumpkins don't just sit in the larder as perfect as the day you harvested them just because you desire it to be so. To the Titans, the world of Toril is often quite annoying, frustrating, and a little bit sad and dull. Most of them have no desire to return to it permanently and can't wait to leave once they get there. They don't really care much about the affairs and concerns of mortal creatures. They have no interest in getting involved in the blood war between the infernal factions, and they have no great desire to become part of the rigid order of the celestial realms. And also they don't appreciate anyone treating them like nothing more than mercenaries for hire. They have their own concerns, their own distractions in politics. There is plenty enough going on in the planes in between, such as the limitless lands of Bytopia, the adventurous wilds of Isgard, and their own domains in Warrior's Rest and Arborea. The legacy they left behind on Faerun is ancient now, some of the oldest structures surviving in enchanted stone, such as Ironfang Keep. You can check out my video on that location. Many of their ruins are now buried or destroyed under miles of solid ice. However, the Great Glacier is slowly retreating and the ruins of Ostoria are being revealed bit by bit every year, all the time. Great valleys carved by grinding ice cut through long-sealed catacombs where worn-down crypts hold massive enchanted arms and armor among piles of dust and rust. Incredibly old golems wander out of melted ice, no longer recognizing any part of the world they see. Undead rise from graves disturbed by nature more than man, and take out their torments on tiny and unsuspecting people on the frozen frontiers. Coins the size of dinner plates wash down from waterfalls and icy rivers coming from the glacial melts, and lakes conceal the crushed domes of long-lost and forgotten keeps, temples, and plazas of a people long since departed. Just one more among the many forgotten realms. Please hit the like button if you made it this far, subscribe if you like what I do, check out my Patreon for some exclusive content and all the full scripts for these videos, buy some merchandise, wear your geek with pride. I much appreciate the support, everyone, as always. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.